Let's take a look at some sports now. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Nigeria's Super Eagles have dropped in the latest FIFA ranking released today. Nigeria is now ranked 70th in the world and 16th in Africa, a position they share with Congo. This is Nigeria's lowest rank in recent years. Algeria remains number 1 in Africa and 32 in the world, followed by Cameroon, Ghana, Senegal and Egypt. Argentina maintained top position in the world. Belgium and Colombia also remained at 2nd and 3rd. European champions Portugal moved up 2 places and are now 6th. Spain dropped 2 places to 8th, and Wales is now 11th on the log. Rhoda JC have announced the signing of former Nigeria Youth International Abdul Jalil Ajagun on a season-long loan with a view to a permanent move. Ajagun hopes to make his mark in the Dutch Elite Division. The 23-year-old, who will be wearing jersey number 14, will begin pre-season training at the club's ground. With this, he becomes the 3rd Nigerian after Tijani Babangida and Garba Lawal to feature for Rhoda JC. FIFA has warned the Republic of Benin over the arrest warrants issued to several key officials, including its council member Constant Omari. The warrants are for the Benin Football Federation Executive Committee and the CAF observer who attended Federation elections on June the 10th. They ignored a court injunction ordering the suspension of FBF elections, which went ahead in June despite the directive. FIFA says if the decisions in question aren't withdrawn by July the 18th, the case will be referred to the Bureau of the FIFA Council. FIFA disapproves of external interference in the running of a football association, having banned various countries in the past for such an offence. Chelsea's new manager Antonio Conte says he's looking ahead to a season of hard work. Conte believes that with the right attitude, the club can bring back the glory days to Stamford Bridge. Having finished in 10th position last season, there is a huge demand to return to the Champions League. Conte insists his pressure comes from within and explained why he is relishing the challenge of improving the team's fortunes. German Olympic sailors are more worried about shifty winds, wild currents and floating trash affecting their racing than health risks from the waters in Rio de Janeiro. One of the sailors have been infected by flesh-eating bacteria that may have come from Rio's sewage-tainted bay. With 3 weeks to the commencement of racing at the Olympics, 3 of the highly ranked German sailing team's top medal prospects said that plastic bags, bottles and floating logs will make the Rio sailing venues harder. And LeBron James has led a group of all-star athletes in making a plea to end gun violence and racial profiling. At the 2016 ESPY Awards, the athletes spoke about the recent shootings that have indeed shocked and saddened the United States. A recognition award was given to Kobe Bryant, Super Bowl winning quarterback Peyton Manning and retired soccer star Abby Wambach. There was also a tribute to the late Muhammad Ali's legacy delivered by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
We all feel helpless and frustrated by the violence. We do. But that's not acceptable. It's time to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what are we doing to create change? It's not about being a role model. It's not about our responsibilities for the tradition of activism. I know tonight we'll honor Muhammad Ali, the GOAT. But to do his legacy any justice, let's use this moment as a call to action for all professional athletes to educate ourselves, explore these issues, speak up, use our influence, and renounce all violence.
You know, Abby decided to retire after a compelling World Cup victory, and Peyton hung up his cleats after yet another Super Bowl win. And so for me, you know, I tend to do things a little differently. So I felt an.
And that's a wrap on sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. The news at 10 continues shortly.
South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has rejected any plans by the UN to deploy military intervention to his country because of recent fighting in Juba and surrounding towns. Regional body IGAD had indicated interest in working with the United Nations for an intervention force within the EU-UN peacekeeping mission in South Sudan. 3 days into the ceasefire that ended heavy fightings between rival factions in South Sudan, doctors at a United Nations hospital in the capital, Juba, continue to treat the wounded.
After we provide properly medical care and treatment and surgical operation, the patient from day to day, after they recovery, they cure, they can go back to their camp, POC. And I'm really happy and to see them to save their life in South Sudan.
Meanwhile, some 5,000 people displaced by the fightings have sought refuge at the United Nations Trumping compound in Juba. Another 3,000 have been housed elsewhere by UN MIS. In the meantime, the United Nations Secretary General's envoy to South Sudan has urged the country's warring factions to continue to respect the ceasefire.
As I have done publicly during the last couple of days, I urge everybody to lay down the gun and respect the ceasefire that His Excellency the President has directed, and the First Vice President has approved to. We really need to find a political solution in South Sudan and move forward in peace for the benefit of the people of South Sudan.
Sudan's government says some 272 people, including at least 33 civilians, were killed when forces loyal to longtime rivals President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar fought street battles in the capital during a 5-day period. Britain's new Prime Minister, Theresa May's cabinet is almost complete and is reportedly quite different from that of her predecessor, David Cameron. While incorporating Boris Johnson, Philip Hammond and Tory leadership contender Andrea Leadsom, she's sacked George Osborne, Michael Gove, Joan Whittingdale, Nicky Morgan and Oliver Letwin. The shake-up has drawn reactions from Britons and their neighbours. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said she was looking forward to working with the new Prime Minister, and China has invited her to attend the G20 summit in September. And the main news again. The President today gave approval for further investigation of those indicted by the recommendation of the committee investigating the defence equipment procurement scandal of the Nigerian Army from 2007 to 2015. Among those to be investigated are 18 serving and retired military personnel, 12 serving and retired public officials, and 24 chief executive officers of companies. Also today, the House of Representatives announced plans to investigate the release and spending of the federal government's bailout funds by state governments. The lawmakers also queried the process through which the funds were provided. And South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has rejected plans by the United Nations to deploy an intervention force over recent fighting in Juba. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks a lot for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Good night.